Hi there, Naturalist Leisha here with the North Lakeland Discovery Center and another episode of Discover at Home. Today we are going to be taking a closer look at a really important plant, the milkweed. This is in response to a very popular post we did last week about an albino milkweed. And in case you missed it, here's some information on that. Very rarely, milkweed will grow without the ability to produce chlorophyll, which gives plants their green color. Instead, attaching to roots of other plants and taking nutrients from them, possibly due to a chromosomal abnormality. Think it's like Indian pipe, a really cool plant that we have out in the forest, does this exact same thing. Not much is known about this, so if you see it, consider yourself lucky. There are over 100 species of milkweed in North America, and if you get a chance to come here to the Discovery Center in our Discovery Garden, you'll see that we have a milkweed garden thanks to a wonderful grant we got from Excel Energy. We put this in last year, and in our garden we have 4 different species of milkweed for you to look at and explore. Our first species is called world milkweed. We've got a couple plants of those in here. The tallest ones are swamp milkweed. Now this is one that you might see along the shores of the rivers and creeks. It tends to like wet places. You can kind of see it starting to be ready to flower. It's got really pretty small pink flowers. It looks very much like Joe Pye weed, but the difference is if you look at the leaves here, these are very smooth edged, where the Joe Pye weed has a lot of little teeth all along the edges of its leaf. But we've got swamp milkweed as well. And then we've got some butterfly flower, which this has a really beautiful orange flower to it. And a lot of people don't realize that this is actually a milkweed species. So these are all great for butterflies and hummingbirds and things like that too, when these flowers open up for these nectar. And a lot of people actually put the butterfly flower in their garden, of course, to attract butterflies. Probably the most common one that people notice is the common milkweed. This is really, it's a lot in ditches and things like that all around the garden. You can find it pretty much anywhere. It grows in lots of different places. But you can see here, there's 2 little caterpillars already going. We can see one here and one there. That brings me to the reason why our common milkweed is so important. Its genus name actually is derived from the Greek god of medicine, and milkweed plants have a lot of medicinal purposes. One of the biggest reasons we like to have milkweed around is that it is the host plant for our monarch caterpillars. Being a host plant, what that means is that the butterfly will only lay the eggs, the monarch butterfly will only lay her eggs on milkweed plants. And it can be different species of milkweed, but most commonly we see it on the common milkweed. And then the caterpillars, this is the only food source for our monarch caterpillars, are these milkweed leaves. So really important to have these around. If you were to try to look for monarch eggs on milkweed plants, the best place to look is in the underside of some of the top leaves of the plant. And here you can see, I'll take it to focus, there's a little egg right in the center right down here, you can see that little egg. But also I'm looking, and do you see 3 more eggs in this cluster of flowers? So usually a female will only lay 1 egg per plant. So if you tend to see other eggs on the same plant, they're from different females who lay hundreds and hundreds of eggs in the 2 weeks that they are an adult. But look at all those little eggs on this one plant getting ready to hatch in about 3 days. Right now the common milkweed flowers are just getting ready to open up here in probably another couple weeks. But when they are completely out, they're a beautiful pinkish purple color and have just a wonderful smell, almost like a lilac. Here's a little monarch caterpillar just munching away, having a yummy lunch. Most of the time we think that our monarch caterpillars are only eating the common milkweed plants, but here on our butterfly flower, you can see this little guy right here has been chewing on this plant a little bit as well. So they actually will eat all different species of milkweed, but the common milkweed is the one we most commonly see. Another way to identify our common milkweed is by taking one of the leaves and just breaking it off at the stem, and you'll see that a white sticky substance. And this is actually how this plant gets its name, because it looks like milk, but this is actually the substance that has a toxin called cardiac glycoside in it, and it makes this plant toxic to things that eat it. However, with the caterpillars, for monarchs, they eat this plant. They do not get harmed, but what's cool is that it actually makes them toxic. And so when predators try to eat them, they get sick, and then they know to never eat that species again. Even though our milkweed has the name weed in its name, it doesn't mean that it's a bad plant. It's a native, it's a wonderful, beneficial plant for wildlife. Over 450 species of insects actually will utilize the common milkweed plant, which is incredible. And so you can see behind me, we just have this tiny patch of milkweed in this one little part of our garden, and there are so many eggs in here and caterpillars. So if you want to help monarchs, the great thing to do is to plant some milkweed in your garden. You just need a few plants. It'll make a huge difference. Later in the summer season, you'll notice tiny small little green pods growing on our common milkweed plants. They'll grow throughout the rest of the summer. They're usually pretty green and kind of soft and fuzzy, and at the end of summer they'll start to turn a grayish brown and eventually open up. Now when those pods open up, each individual seed has a little bit of this cool silk attached to it that helps it float through the air and spread around. Here we collected a bunch of it, and actually there are some great uses of this milkweed fluff, I call it. It was used for insulation, for stuffing, for pillows and things traditionally. So there's lots of uses for this fluff, and if you ever collect any of this, you'll see that it's really soft and squishy. It has a nice silky texture to it. But each seed, you can see a couple seeds in this pile here, is connected to a little piece of fluff to help it fly through the air and find a new place to land. Thank you so much for joining me to learn a little bit more about the milkweed plant. If you have any questions about milkweed plants or monarch butterflies, please feel free to contact me at the Discovery Center. If you have any other questions about upcoming programming or how to support the Discovery Center, please visit discoverycenter.net. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.